somehow a feature-length film about Woody Woodpecker exists. And it's dumb and bad. I guess studios still think that taking cartoons and making them live action is a good idea for some reason. Be it Alvin and the Chipmunks, Casper, Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo, A Fairly Odd Movie, Grow Up Timmy Turner. This kind of flick is a dime a dozen. Nothing quite points out how the West ignores the potential in animation more than the way that characters like these are treated. It's almost as if they see animation, specifically that of the 2D variety, to be less important and marketable. Hence the upgrade they attempt to assign to these valuable properties by awkwardly shoving them into a format that contradicts basically every element that defined what they were in the first place. Many of these kinds of movies don't even warrant the time and money invested in them simply because of what the character identifies and represents. The entire concept is very dated to me. I can't believe they're still doing this. Not a single facet or thought process behind films like this make any sense, and it shows because the majority of films based on cartoon characters from decades ago are god-awful. Woody Woodpecker was created in 1940. His most recognizable feature is his goofy laugh, and the fact that he's kind of massively annoying. One excellent basis for a feature-length film. The only reason Woody Woodpecker 2017 exists is because the titular character remains strangely popular in Latin America. It was constructed around little more than that, to the point where the film sinks to its knees and is so blatantly pandering that if I was Brazilian, I'd probably just find it more irritating and transparent more than anything. You're probably sat there with your thinking caps on wondering, how on earth do they structure a narrative around a bird who laughs? Well, you see, my minions, the answer is simple. You tell a story of a dysfunctional family who attempt to destroy the lush forest environment for selfish monetary reasons. But through the antics of disturbing Woody Woodpecker in his home, learn that animals should be left in their natural habitat in peace. It kind of writes itself. However, while the movie does attempt to follow through on this obvious, vague, and simplistic message, it can't even do that right, winding up creating a story that is actually extraordinarily inappropriate for its target audience. Creating plot threads that appear to have a predictable arc and conclusion, but instead are totally abandoned for the sake of another plot thread that they also inevitably throw to the wayside. In that sense, it is amateur and floundering to the point where I had to question if this was even a picture that was released by a major production company. And it was, despite looking and sounding like a poorly constructed YouTube fan film. I was surprised by just how rapidly the film introduces Woody himself. In fact, he's the first character we see.
Peanut butter. Oh yeah, peanut butter. I love peanut butter.
Immediately, you are struck by many different elements that bring up major questions.
Huh? Did you hear that?
First off, Woody's voice is bizarrely low quality, and it remains this way for the entirety of the movie. It really stands out compared to basically every other character who sounds fine.
The woodpecker is a protected species. You'd be breaking the law.
Okay, who cut the cheese?
I can't tell if this was an intentional decision to attempt to lovingly homage the tinny low-quality audio of the original cartoon from the 40s.
Well, now I need a new barrel.
But that's probably just giving it way too much credit, because that would be stupid and makes no sense. It makes any animation that would otherwise look kind of fine seem even more out of place in the scene because it sounds like it was recorded on someone's Gen 4 iPod Touch.
You're right, mate. It's Woody the Woodpecker, innit?
I honestly think this is simply down to them not caring. Other strange details include elements of the room magically changing position, which I find baffling because surely this is rendered inside a computer, so why would it even move around? Little details just randomly appear and disappear too, which most people probably won't even notice, but it's especially strange because it's not even a real set where this would actually be an excusable continuity error. Next, we need to highlight how this film clearly had no planning when it came to where they were actually going to put Woody into the scene. His motion blurs are so thin and scrawny that it's ridiculously difficult to even notice where he's supposed to be moving. The image is already visually noisy with all the shades of green and how many plants are in frame. But where they decided to place the camera looks more like they're trying to record wildlife over a fun scene for a children's movie.
This ought to be fun. Game on.
This film is stuffed to the brim with strange, unnecessary artificial zooms clearly done in post. This is a common technique a lot of YouTubers do to emphasize something comedic, because you don't often have a cameraman on hand to zoom the lens for you. You don't often see it so blatantly in something that is supposed to be a professional piece of filmmaking though. I have a feeling that they did this mostly because they couldn't be bothered to move the camera around, because that takes effort. The majority of shots are static, and they probably realized how boring that is for what's supposed to be an energetic kids movie, and so they tried to fix it in editing. But the zooming doesn't actually do anything besides lowering the quality slightly and making the composition less balanced because it clearly wasn't shot with this type of editing in mind. This is what I mean by pandering. It's probably also a reference to an old episode or something, but we all know the real reason this is in here.
Come on. that the best you got?
That looked good.
Over here now!
They don't always animate his wings flapping, so he just kind of floats around like a ghost. It looks about as good as if I point my camera into a random corner of a room in my house, then crudely shove a GIF on top of it. Wow, I can't even see a difference.
You got me fair and square. I give up.
See? How is he flying?
And I'm the one with the brain the size of a walnut? Please.
3 minutes and there's already this much wrong. Oh, mama. Every scene that isn't in the forest looks like an advert or stock footage. Look, I'm going to show you 2 clips. One of them is from a real-life advertisement, and one of them is a sequence of shots from this movie. You have to try and guess which one is which. Okay, roll it. Right, so this one here is from this movie. I bet you could hardly tell, could you? Also, when I was looking at adverts to use for this comparison, some of them were simply too cinematic and looked too good to even be comparable. That pretty much says it all, doesn't it?
Since when do we need to be so overly concerned with the rights of wildlife? Wildlife don't vote.
So this guy is fired from his cushy lawyer job because he doesn't like the environment. He then hatches a genius plan to create a country estate on land that was left to him by his grandfather.
Fired? They can do that.
My job is to think that I'm the greatest of all time, and life's job is to humble me at every step of the way. But for every movie that goes away, every song that doesn't hit, and every script that doesn't get bought, there are these moments of magic that still make me feel great. Here we go, gotta run, gotta rev my engine, gotta get it done, gotta move, gotta fight, but I can't have fun and I can't lose sight, gotta be number one, gotta prove my worth to every... A lot of why I create what I do is to speak to those who perhaps feel voiceless, who perhaps feel the same way that I did growing up. Storytellers with a strong point of view are telling all-encompassing, immersive stories that give their listeners, their audience, the experience of something they haven't had in their own lives. Like, I'm not gonna rap or sing at you, I'm gonna drop you right into the middle of what I've made. I think that's really special and really important. To make music, to make art, movies, television, stories, it's all easier than ever. It's the most possible thing on the planet is to tell your own story right now. If it's easier than ever to share your vision with the world, then why aren't you doing it? Here we go, gotta blow, gotta show them more, gotta let them know this flow is mine and I'm first in line, gotta glow, gotta shine, gotta break the mold, make the money fold. Show up on time and finish what you start. Those are the only 2 rules. And if you have all of the technology literally at your fingertips, then I'm excited for you and I can't wait to see what you make.
Family night? Sit tight and eat right. Jersey Mike's is now offering free delivery for all orders through our app. Jersey Mike's.
Hey, anyone notice the Brazilian actress and model? She plays the guy's fiancée. I wonder why she's in the movie.
That's the one we saw.
The pileated, red-crowned woodpecker.
The hillbillies from the beginning go deep into the Woody Woodpecker lore and explain that he's the last remaining bird of his kind, meaning that he's valuable. Then we cut to possibly the worst shot so far in the entire movie.
Home sweet home, and no one around to bother me.
Look, now let me pause that. So one of 3 things is about to happen and you have to guess what it is. Woody's going to end this shot by either A, farting for no reason, B, doing his iconic laugh for absolutely no reason, or C, burping for no reason. Place your bets. Those of you who guessed B would be wrong because it's C. He burps for absolutely no reason.
Home sweet home, and no one around to bother me.
Oh.
Uh-oh, the ex-wife is here with his kid. Let's see where this goes.
Hey, Tommy. How you doing, bud?
I know you don't want me here. The only kid you want in your life is your girlfriend.
You know what? Vanessa is not a kid. She's much older-ish than you are.
That's appropriate for a U-rated kids film.
Just look at this. Pristine, untouched. I cannot wait to get a bulldozer in here and start building.
I actually think dialogue as on the nose as this could work with a certain tone. It's just that this movie doesn't have that tone.
Oh, campers, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. There's granola bars, corn chips, ice cream, snack cakes, corn nuts, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
Don't you dare post that.
Too late. Hashtag epic dad grill fail.
This is Tommy. He loves denim, and he's about to find out just what happens when you meet a really poorly animated woodpecker. Wow, this kid's gonna be an amazing drum player later. I can't wait to see him play the drums. Whoa. Nice. Look at those moves. Freaking sweet.
Wow, you are really cool for a
Fucking annoying cunt. That's it. Just stare into the distance, kid. Don't even bother to pretend that Woody's even in the frame. Don't worry about it. Oh, look, and they even leave in 8 whole frames where they just forgot to animate Mr. Woodpecker. Really, a lot of care and attention went into this one, clearly. And oh yeah, this film cost $10 million to make, by the way. You can tell every penny really went into making this look and feel excellent. Woody leaves. Woody comes back. Eats food. He a pig. Somehow that kind of minimal process is how I envision the script writing went behind the scenes. Woody bird. Woody hungry. Woody defeat baddies. Bad dad. Convincing CG. Denim.
Shoo! Shoo! Get out of here!
What the hell is he doing? Is he okay? It's almost as if he had no direction whatsoever. Well, that's possibly the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm bumping this film 14 places down in the list just for that alone.
Stop! He's not hurting anyone!
Stop, he's not hurting anyone! Proceeds to immediately hurt someone.
You got something in your hair.
Ow! Ow!
Hey, what's the big idea?
What the hell is up with that animation? I know it's not great, but it normally looks a bit better than that. How can anyone think a shot that terrible looking belongs in a feature film? What is so hard about actually zooming a lens? Did they even try at all here? Don't bother replying to that, I already know the answer.
No. This is my forest. Time for an eviction notice.
Woody doesn't like his home being destroyed, so in return, he destroys the builders' lives by murdering them.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Last time. Hi-ya! I got woohoo! Push it. Oops.
Meanwhile, the kid goes into town and meets a girl who looks way too young to be a hipster. I guess they're starting young nowadays. No one else is in the shop, so I guess she owns it. It's never explained.
You're not bad. Not bad at all.
Thanks.
She offers the kid a guitar for free, under the condition that he joins her band, to which he agrees. I can't wait to see the band come together. I really hope Woody Woodpecker plays an instrument. Wouldn't that be funny and family-friendly and entertaining and just so charming and lovable?
Hey! This is our road, and we didn't give you permission to use it.
Butch the Bully has a surprise cameo appearance and has his way with the kid until Woody comes along and strips them naked. Looks like we found the next Hollywood scandal waiting to happen. Ow! 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 This must just seem like I'm repeating myself at this point, but most of the film is Woody assaulting people, so it's just lots of violence.
Hey, kid.
Hey, Woody!
I was just flapping by and heard someone laying down a fresh beat.
Whoa!
How was this released in 2017?
Everybody's heard about the bird.
Yeah, this here is my jam.
There are endless songs about birds that exist, and this is the one they choose. Oh, and there's a Family Guy reference.
Anyone else smell gas?
Woody's kind of a serial killer.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
What's the death count of this movie again?
Hey! Oops.
Oh, man.
Just like in the cartoons.
I very much appreciate how Woody breaks the fourth wall and is constantly self-referential. When done right, it can be very charming and effective. But when it's written like this, I don't think there's anything I find more annoying and repugnant.
Whoa! Oh, jeez.
Kids, don't try this at home. I'm a professional cartoon character.
So this highlights one of my biggest problems with this movie. After writing and filming a scene where Woody Woodpecker uses a gas explosion to attempt to murder someone, they realized that they were supposed to be making a family-friendly kids movie, so crudely shoved in a line about him being a cartoon character. So I guess that means it's fine when he does it, but kids shouldn't try it at home? Surely you just shouldn't include it in the movie full stop if you have to write your way out of a situation like that. And I'd argue it's somewhat contradictory and confusing for a child to see, because the woman isn't a cartoon character. She's a real human, and she just got exploded! Outside of the Woody scenes, most everything is set in a somewhat realistic depiction of reality, and by that I mean they clearly weren't going for a blatant cartoon-inspired tone for the live-action scenes with just the human characters. So when Woody Woodpecker comes in and does something straight out of a cartoon, there's a huge disconnect, not only visually, but also tonally. It's all over the place in terms of consistency. It's like they're riding the line on when it's convenient for it to just randomly be a full cartoon, and when it's just a regular live-action kids comedy. I really don't think it's much to ask for a movie to establish what its rules are and be consistent.
Ooh, definitely swipe left.
Seriously, how is this rated a U for Universal? That's a Tinder joke. You know, the app where people meet up and pound. Who thought that this would be acceptable? The model leaves because they ran out of money to pay her. Then the kid and the father start to bond. And you know what? It started to make me cry. Out of my asshole. Farts are funny, people! Wake up! The hillbillies are hired by the dad to catch Woody, and what precedes is basically an almost identical retread of the scene from the opening. So I wonder what the point of that sequence was then.
It's filler.
I really don't know, I can't figure it out.
It's filler.
Wait, what's that whispering in the background trying to say?
It's filler.
Oh, it's filler.
Instead of fighting with the woodpecker, maybe try being nice to it.
So from now, what develops is a sequence of events so baffling, so inept, that I simply cannot even begin to comprehend who thought that this was even a little bit of a good idea. So the dad calls for a truce, and using the knowledge that Woody is a huge glutton who will do anything for food, bribes Woody into leaving his project alone.
If you think giving me a little food is gonna make me forget about... Wow, these are killer. What was I saying?
So from then on, Woody is basically on the guy's payroll. He just shows up like a pimp and demands what's his. It's ridiculous.
Relax. I got this.
Thank you very much.
There's a weird level of corruption that this film happily delves into, and it's not like Woody eventually learns that it's bad to accept payment, to betray your beliefs and morals. The message is more of a, we all have our vices. And again, they even directly acknowledge it as if that makes it okay.
Okay. I know what you folks are thinking. Woody is a big, fat sellout. But the way I see it, it's a mutually beneficial business arrangement.
And that's it. A terrible, mishandled plot thread that has a totally negative consequence and message, and actively goes into territory that is the opposite of appropriate for its intended audience of impressionable babies.
I think we're okay here.
Then out of nowhere, the film decides that the kid thinks his dad is cool now. I guess his son likes corruption and bribery. So that plot point's nicely wrapped up and thrown in the goddamn garbage. What was even the point of that? Didn't go anywhere. Now we finally get to see some kind of freaking epic festival where the kids are going to play in that band that we saw coming together earlier. But oh no, the drummer feels sick because he ate so many hot dogs and he can't play. Do you remember earlier when I said I can't wait to see the main kid play the drums because he was doing that typical drummer tick on everything? And they made a point of highlighting that. Well, he never even goes near a drum kit because, oh hell yeah, Woody comes in right to the rescue and plays a tiny little drum kit that's out the side and the back. Yeah, that is so cool. That is so cool. Freaking love Woody. They awkwardly try and shove in a family is important message out of nowhere, and Woody electrocutes himself and burns the house down. Idiot. Now, for some reason, they act like the house burning down is a bad thing, even though they spent the first hour of the film telling us why it was a selfish, irresponsible, and greedy thing to do in the first place. I swear, every character changes motivation in pretty much every other scene for no discernible reason. Not one that I can figure out, or I guess the only reason being, it would be convenient if this happened now, so let's make that happen now. I guess he's not difficult to capture now? That's it, tase him. Just kill him.
Let me out of here! I wasn't read my rights!
I'm out of order! You're out of order! You can't handle the truth!
That right there was the pinnacle of reference for no reason. Yeah, I'm sure all the kids are really gonna understand that pointless, irrelevant nod to A Few Good Men. I guess that one's for the adults in the audience. You poor, poor people.
Tommy.
Your denim looks great. Quite literally 2 minutes later in the movie.
Woody.
The dad regrets sending Woody away with the poachers, and then goes and saves him after an excruciating scene where the hillbillies trap the children in cages. Well, everyone in cages. Yet another thing they clearly didn't think about, how that would look in live action.
So, what do you think?
The film ends with the dad revealing a new design for the new home he's gonna build, on the exact same spot. But everyone is fine with it being built this time because it's slightly smaller and isn't bright blue. Wow, everyone really learnt a message from that one. I guess, don't protect the environment. Whatever. Then they finally show the dad happily going to sleep with the annoying woodpecker noises in the background, who once used to justifiably find the noises extremely annoying while he was attempting to get to sleep. But I guess now that he likes Woody, that means that the sound is no longer annoying? What? Woody Woodpecker is an abomination of a children's movie. Every decision is founded in logic that either doesn't make sense, looks completely terrible, or is wildly inappropriate for its target audience. With flat direction and camera work that would even put my crazy, energetic corgi to sleep with boredom, characters that flip-flop in motivation more than a pair of jandals on a warm summer's day, effects work, coloring, and editing that is so bad that it ends up having the atmosphere of a badly made YouTube skit instead of a $10 million movie, and a central character who is so irritating and unlikable that at times actually winds up being unintentionally creepy and scary.
Who you calling crazy?
If I hadn't already seen the Oogie Loves or films like the Baby Geniuses movies, then I'd probably be more angry. But unfortunately, Woody Woodpecker joins the ever-growing list of films that are so bad and dull that they are completely worthless. Not bad enough to be funny, not bad enough to be interesting, not even bad enough to be ironically entertaining. Just a waste of time for everyone. Hopefully Universal will reconsider throwing around money for an idea that is so flawed in concept that it was already dead before its production even began. I cannot think of one example of a live-action movie based on a cartoon that has improved upon and is somehow better than its original format and interpretation. Like, guys, just stop doing this. Stop thinking that there is potential in this concept. If you want to make a Woody Woodpecker movie, actually make a Woody Woodpecker movie that is set in an animated universe, like the original. That's the only way that character even stands a chance of working. Like, if the only positive you have to making it live action is it's cheaper, then chances are the film is going to be terrible and everyone's going to hate it anyway. It's a lose-lose. All I can hope for is that some of the actors got a nice fat paycheck for this, because the odd one of them was surprisingly okay considering the dreadful material. But aside from that, give this one a miss. If you want an excellent film that coincidentally does everything Woody Woodpecker 2017 attempts to achieve, but is actually executed with style and grace, I would recommend Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Woody Woodpecker even makes a brief cameo, as does basically every famous animated character from when it was released. So consider this the real cinematic way to appreciate this character, if you're a big fan of him. Released in 1988, Robert Zemeckis managed to incorporate 2D animation into the 3D world in a creative and at times jaw-droppingly impressive way. The artistry and technique implemented to achieve the seamless combination of dimensions creates a tone that perfectly captures that of the original cartoon characters the movie is based around, but at the same time shows us a new side of the iconic personalities and worlds in a narrative framing that we've never seen before. And unlike the campy and memeable Space Jam, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is actually a well-written and constructed detective murder mystery at its very core, so it's more than just a technical achievement. It's just a really good film. If you consider yourself a fan of animation or just want to watch something very unique, I'd highly recommend it over the atrocious Woody Woodpecker 2017. So thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to smash that like button. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Someone burned down your house with you inside. Do you know anyone that would do this?
You ask this woman to come work in our house? You don't even know her.
Sometimes you have to scorch everything to start over.
Are you just gonna pretend nothing happened?
We all have parts that scare us.
Laser Blast is the most adorable movie ever. How refreshing it is to experience one of these movies without wanting to do a handstand over a conveniently placed spike and slowly lower myself onto it, gradually feeling it penetrating my body, pain rushing through my nervous system, and
Pow! Pow! Boom! Pow! Pow! Boom!
if you're not a fan of lasers or blasts, right off the bat, I'd say this probably isn't the movie for you. In fact, unfortunately, I find it hard to evaluate who I should recommend this movie to, if anyone. Well, I guess this show is more about if I like it or not, which we're about to get into. There are only two words I can think of that can describe Laser Blast, those being, huh? And what? And any number of different variations of the two. So being, huh? What? What? Huh? Or if you're feeling particularly spicy, maybe the odd, huh? What? Huh? Story. The word story and this film don't exactly go together very well. I guess the definition of a story is an account or event that's told for entertainment. I guess technically there are events. Things do happen, but the problem is nothing links together and there is absolutely no narrative thread, making this possibly the most because movie I've ever seen. With that being said, let's attempt to describe what happens. Plot. Okay, admittedly, this movie has a fucking awesome setup. The basic idea is that some random teenager happens to find an alien gun arm in the desert, and every time he fires it, he turns more and more into an alien creature. It's the kind of premise that makes you anticipate a certain type of story. The execution seems like it should be obvious, satisfying, and predictable. Like in a good way. You can just imagine the type of beats a movie with a setup like this should hit. But if Laser Blast is anything, it certainly is not predictable. Once you've seen or analyzed enough movies, you start to notice a pattern in the way some film stories are structured. For example, when a character does something very specific in the first act of a movie, such as showing their friends how they can make an impressive jump, like really specifically and randomly, you better darn believe that it's going to come back later for some kind of dramatic payoff. The Russian short story writer Anton Chekhov, most famous for his brilliant Chekhov's gun quote, gives the advice that, if it's not essential, don't include it in the story. See, Laser Blast opts for virtually the complete opposite approach to this. There are pointless characters who are introduced seemingly at random who do nothing. Ideas and concepts are introduced only to be completely abandoned almost immediately after. One of the taglines for the movie is, Billy was a kid who got pushed around. Then he found the power. What power? What are you talking about? It's like whoever had to write the tagline was also completely unaware what actually happens in the movie. The film really is an incoherent mess when you're trying to break it down and analyze it for a show like this. But at the same time, it is strangely charming and enjoyable, especially when you consider some of the limitations the filmmakers had here, because I'm almost certain this was made for virtually no money whatsoever. I mean, to be fair, it actually is quite well made in a lot of different ways. It's just stupid. Really, really stupid.
And it makes not one goddamn bit of sense.
A lot of scenes in this movie can kind of be summed up in a couple of random words, like the opening scene, for example. Desert. Guy. Rocks. Zombie. Spaceship. Aliens. Not a single word is spoken for the first 6 minutes of the movie. The aliens kind of make this funny noise, but I don't know what they're saying. There's no subtitles, so that does not count.
So I guess it's all visual storytelling at work. The true special source of movies. There's some guy who we never find any details about, by the way, who's stumbling around the desert with a big Nerf gun on his arm. And he looks like a zombie. Then the naked turtle aliens land, pull out their little laser, and they have a battle with the zombie man with the Nerf gun. The naked turtle aliens immediately kill the zombie, thus in essence saving the entire human race from a zombie outbreak. All bow down to the naked turtle aliens. Yay. But right as the naked turtle aliens are about to do, something. I suppose they want the neck crystal thing or whatever. A plane flies near them, so instead of picking up their belongings that are a couple of meters away from them, they instead decide to risk leaving traces that turtle aliens exist. So this scrumptious looking fellow is Billy. He is the main character. Probably. I think that was the intention. He's a weird asshole and I hate him. He's the most awkward, creepy teenager I've ever seen. He looks like he's 35 years old. How am I supposed to believe he's a kid or teenager? To me, he looks like this weird combination of Steve Buscemi, Michael Shannon, and Mark Hamill from the original Star Wars. He even sounds like he's doing an impression of Luke at times, too.
It's me, Colonel, Billy Duncan. I just want to see Kathy.
Sounds like she's in trouble. I better play back the whole thing.
Power converters.
But anyway, he talks to Skeletor here in the most awkward interaction ever put on film. His mother is like really trying to talk to him, but he just stands there like an asshole with a glazed murder look in his eyes.
I've got this invitation to go to Acapulco.
Acapulco?
Acapulco.
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 Believe it or not, Billy not wearing a shirt is actually extremely important to his character. You'll find out why in a little bit, my assaholic bitches. Believe me, it's exciting stuff. Billy takes his creepy white van on a drive to see his girlfriend, but her granddad storms out of the house in his pajamas. He has his military coat on top of them though. Maybe he's a bit loopy, I have no idea.
It's me, Billy.
Password.
Okay, maybe the colonel is a robot.
Password.
Maybe the granddad colonel is a robot.
Password.
Oh, poor Billy over here looks like his eyes are gonna fall out of his head, like those creepy fucking monsters from the labyrinth. Remember those? Ugh. I have to admit though, this colonel is kind of a badass because he likes to hush hush a lot.
Hush, 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 hush.
He don't take no shit, no siree.
Everybody except me. Because I know something they didn't know I knew. Now you get away from that! Now you get away from that!
So I find this entire scene extremely confusing. Not because I'm a true idiot. Or maybe it is because I'm a true idiot. But I really don't know how this movie wants me to feel. Why did the grandpa colonel, who's in half pajamas, push a motorbike at Billy, but then tell him not to touch the motorbike that he pushed at Billy? Is he supposed to be completely mad? Is this supposed to be funny? I honestly have no idea, because before you know it, the scene is over.
Is that Billy?
Sand dust.
Oh, okay. He's completely batshit. This movie attempts to have comedic scenes that I guess are supposed to be laugh out loud funny, but the only type of laugh I could imagine you ever having is one of those type of awkward reactions because you don't know how else to express yourself. Take these weird policeman scenes, for example. It starts with one of them smoking weed every day that he stole from some kids that we don't see.
What do you keep smoking that stuff for? Oh, shit.
What?
Oh, shit.
What is he saying?
Oh, shit.
One more time.
Oh, shit.
He looks like a cartoon character.
Shit.
What? So then when the policemen see Billy driving past, they decide that they need to stop him. So they storm off, but they slide on the mud because the guy driving is high. It's so fucking awkward and unfunny. The best way to see what I'm talking about here is to just show you it. Look.
This is not juggling. This is called misdirection.
You idiot!
They somehow manage to catch up to Billy, but I guess because he's high, they clumsily drive around the car like idiots while this cartoonish music plays. Then after they give Billy a ticket for some reason, they cause an extremely dangerous car crash that has no bearing on anything. Again, I guess this is supposed to be funny. Except what if that person broke their spine and died? Or got crushed? Or what if it was an old person? They definitely would have died. Stop laughing. This is not funny. This is horrific. Billy looks like a fish when he drinks his Coke product placement. Glub, glub. I want to kiss him on his big lips. I wish I had Billy lips. You can really see the teen angst while he slurps down that coke. The fleeting feeling of loss and hopelessness is conveyed perfectly by, Kim Milford in this scene. Oh, he died when he was only 37. Poor Billy. Wait, he was 27 years old when this film came out. I told you he wasn't a damn kid. So the only point of this coke scene is that these bully characters can drive up and make fun of Billy. Except, again, look at these two bullies. First off, this guy looks like a 35-year-old man who should be hunched over a desk crunching numbers. Oh, is that horribly stereotypical? It's just because he looks like a huge fucking nerd. And then there's this guy who looks even older. He looks like he could be Billy's dad or something. Or the real 27-year-old actor's brother, but not in the movie universe because they're all supposed to be teenagers. What the fuck am I talking about? Now this is the kind of subtlety modern movies are lacking nowadays. Things used to be so much cooler in the 70s, man. You had those flared jeans that looked really stupid, everyone had awful hair, and aliens were roaming the desert killing zombies. Like, how the hell are we supposed to compete with that in the 2010s? The 2010sies? Man, our nameless decade sucks. What have we got? Iced gem haircuts, selfie sticks, beards? Just a whole lot of beards, really, isn't it? So like any stroppy, nearly 30-year-old man would, I mean teenager would, for some unexplained reason, Billy decides to drive into the desert, park right next to the laser blast gun by coincidence. Then he throws his product placement and it explodes. I don't know why. I guess because aliens. It's no longer because movie, it's because aliens for this episode. Because aliens, they can do anything, man. Billy picks up the retarded-looking laser blast gun and starts to play with it like a small idiot child. He's a 27-year-old man playing a teenager. Like, was it that in the 70s, or is he just, like, playing a moron? Like, fuck. Billy then forgets he's in a movie and pretends to shoot at the cameraman. And they leave it in. This is yet another awkward and confusing scene that left me scratching my head.
Damage. That's easy.
You know what, I'm gonna make a tally now of every single time this movie confused the shit out of me. So we had that entire opening scene, that was pretty confusing. His interaction with his mother, that was also super weird. The angry Colonel Pajama Grandpa scene, that was also fucked. And 2 for the policeman interactions and the nerd bully and dad dude thing. Wow, these are building up quick. Billy stumbles across the charred remains of the zombie from earlier and somehow figures out that he needs to be holding the necklace thing for the laser blast to be able to boom! Billy, without question, goes on a fucking rampage, taking an immense amount of pleasure destroying the local environment. I feel like I should say something snarky right now, but I'm physically exhausted from watching Billy's sick pyromania frenzy. I mean, just imagine how many poor, cute desert creatures he just murdered. What if a bird was resting inside that desert tree thing? It would have been burnt to a crisp. Not cool, Billy. Birds are my fucking favorite. Hang on, I just got to email Peter about this. Oh, you thought I meant the animal rights group. No, I meant my friend called Peter. He likes birds as well. There's this really fucking weird B-plot that they keep cutting to of this investigator guy, who I guess is inspecting the alien presence that nobody has talked about, no one has really been affected by, and that no one in their right mind should even know about.
Oh yeah.
Like, how the fuck does he know what's happening? Is he related to the zombie from the beginning? I still don't know because the movie doesn't expect you to question it for even a second. Billy's girlfriend goes to meet him in this really gorgeous woodland place. Surprisingly, he's actually quite the romantic. Look, he's got the pretty sunflower in a vase, some wine, and he even went to the effort of getting a floral coaster to put a fucking candle on. What a gentleman! Although, it does make me wonder about what the fuck he was doing earlier. Oh, there's the maniac we know and love. You expect me to believe that Billy is the type of romantic who would prepare a floral coaster, candle, and wine, but at the same time fucking pounce on her with a 27-year-old man body weight and wrestle her to the fucking floor. And I mean, like, if you still think the two have no bearing on each other whatsoever, what about right after when he picks up his sleeping bag and wails on her for seemingly no reason?
Am I?
God, hold on!
Don't get me wrong, I've seen this type of behavior before. You remember in primary school, there was always that one kid who was always a bit too physical and would accidentally make the other kids cry all the time. Something tells me that Billy was one of those. Billy was definitely one of those. Or maybe his girlfriend just likes being attacked. I don't know. I've never actually spoken to a girl before, so I do not know. Please tell me in the comments if you enjoy being wrestled to the floor, then bombarded with a sleeping bag attack. Actually, don't. I do not care, and I will not look. The main point of this scene is to show that the laser blast amulet thing that he wears around his neck has marked Billy on his chest. This is the reason why it's so important that he's shirtless or has his shirt at least open at all times, okay? Now, if you're anything like me, by around this time, you'll probably be saying to yourself, hey, where did those naked turtle aliens go? They're actually surprisingly well animated and charming despite being weird naked alien murderers. But yeah, there's another